Dr. Estrom,
Here.
Mr. O'Neill,
Here.
Ms. Phillips,
Here.
Mr. Rue,
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here. Mr. Manager.
Yes, Commission. We have one work session item tonight, and that is for an update on the Clark County Active Transportation Plan, as well as just some general updates from the Transportation Coordinating Committee. And with us tonight is the Director of the TCC, the Transportation Coordinating Committee, Louis Agresta.
Right. First of all, I'd like to thank you all for having me this evening. As Brian mentioned, my name is Louis Agresta. I am the Transportation Director at the Clark County Springfield TCC. That is a mouthful, so we often go by TCC for short. Not to be confused with CTC. So I'll kind of get into here what we are here in a minute. So we are what's called a Metropolitan Planning Organization, or an MPO. So we're about to celebrate our 60th birthday, founded in February 14th, 1964, and we are the transportation planning, the MPO for Clark County. So we exist because of the city of Springfield and the urbanized area, but we serve all of Clark County. Our policy board has 13 members, 2 of which are here tonight. Commissioner O'Neill and Commissioner Estrop serve on our board. Our board has to be 51% elected officials, and we also have members from ODOT, City of New Carlisle, City of Springfield, obviously, Clark County, townships. We also have 3 subcommittees, then their chairs serve on our board as well. So our core functions, we have a long-range transportation plan. Our current plan goes to 2050. We have what's called the Transportation Improvement Program. Those are, we have capital dollars, trying to think of some projects. Yellow Spring Street, the project's being done right now, is a TIP project moving forward in 24 through 27. We'll talk about here in a bit, but sidewalks along Bechtel Avenue is a project, paving, some paving projects, a downtown bike hub, among many others. And then we have multiple other functions for transportation planning in Clark County, public involvement, transportation asset management, safety planning, which is a big part of what we do, freight planning, air quality, and then multimodal, which I want to get into here in a second. So one of our core functions is we do several studies, and we just wrapped one up that the main reason I'm here tonight is to talk about it. The Active Transportation Plan. I saw Vicki Forrest in the audience. She's written a couple stories in the News Sun, so I appreciate that, trying to get the word out. This is a plan I think I'm really proud of, I think our board's proud of, and I'm happy, again, appreciate the opportunity to share it with everybody. So this is the first time we've ever done a countywide active transportation plan. And when I say active transportation, I'm referring primarily to bicyclists and pedestrians. And what I want to make clear is that this is not a, let's turn Clark County, Ohio into Amsterdam or some city in Europe that has 30% of the people riding around on bikes. We know that's never going to happen. That's not what we're trying to do. But we are trying to make it a bit safer for those folks that walk and bike. Really, not even to the detriment of cars. There's many cases where you can make things safer for pedestrians and bicyclists, and also, keep traffic flowing as it should be for motorists. So these are some of the areas we looked at. Obviously, the city of Springfield, some of the villages surrounding Clark County, as well as the city of New Carlisle. So this is an example. I've shown this picture before. This always stands out to me. Many of us, when we get from A to B in a car, don't really have to encounter something like this. I just would like to, if you're walking, your shoes would get slushy real quick. You'd have wet feet. It's cold. You'd almost have to go out in the street to avoid the truck parking, coming down the sidewalk. If you're pushing a stroller or in a wheelchair, there's signs. So it was just kind of like, this plan wasn't to point fingers or place blame. It was really just to kind of take an inventory of our assets and, kind of see where we fall short and what can we do about fixing it. So this is on Limestone, I believe on Floral Avenue, right there by St. Teresa's. North Limestone looks a lot like that, and South Limestone looks a lot like this throughout the corridor. Just narrow sidewalks, and it was built however many years ago. So here's another area we looked at. So this is East Main between Belmont and Burnett, an area we're all familiar with. There's about a half mile between the signalized intersections of Belmont and Burnett, with houses on both sides, with commercial corridors on both sides, with driveways everywhere. If you stand out there for 5 minutes, you are without a doubt going to see some folks jaywalking, and I don't blame them because, who's going to walk half a mile just go to a signal to go a half mile back to where you want to go? So again, this isn't placing blame on the city of Springfield or ODOT or whoever. This is just what do we have and how do we try and go about improving it? So we looked at many things. This is just a rendering. this is what it could look like, So the main feature here is the mid-block crosswalk. Again, I mentioned there's about a half mile in between signals, and so you could place a couple of these maybe throughout, give the pedestrians kind of a refuge to cross in the middle. The middle island kind of serves as a place where they could rest. You could go to the middle and wait for oncoming traffic to pass before you go the rest of the way. You could, and also this kind of also may slow traffic down, even though that barrier is obviously in the not in a travel lane. It kind of has a visual impact where it visually kind of narrows the lane width, so kind of creates a sense that the motorist needs to slow down, because I think we've all been out there when folks aren't quite going 35 miles an hour. This is another example. This is actually in downtown Lebanon, to our south. My wife and I take the kids here to get some ice cream after we go to Kings Island. I picture something like this, a mid-block crosswalk with the RRFBs, maybe right here on Fountain Avenue, connecting the parking garage to our businesses. A lot of folks obviously are parking there. Traffic's going slow on Fountain Avenue anyways, but I would love to see something like this, maybe a mid-block crosswalk that folks that are coming from the parking garage to get across the street. Something like this would be perfect there, among other places throughout town. This is right here, Main Street. This would be, right now it's one way. This is what it could look like as a two-way street. We don't have to look too far. We don't have to go to Lebanon or somewhere else to see what a one-way to two-way street conversion looks like. We did that on Fountain Avenue, probably, Brian, 10 years ago, something like that, maybe 5 to 8 years ago. And it's worked well. I mean, obviously Fountain Avenue is thriving with businesses and restaurants. Actually, I want to get into it in a second. Talked with Brian earlier in the year. TCC is going to use some planning funds to dust off our 10-year-old study on the one-way to two-way street conversion and put 2023 cost estimates and make sure everything still looks good with that and still a priority. Here's Bechtel Avenue. I'm excited to say that the city of Springfield applied for our capital dollars to put in sidewalks along Bechtel Avenue. So hopefully here in a couple years, this representation won't just be a picture, but it'll actually be what the environment looks like. So again, that's our active transportation plan. Another thing I want to highlight is our goal is not to create a plan and just kind of like an unfunded mandate of here you go City of Springfield, here you go Clark County, here you go City of New Carlisle. Here's all the great things that we want you to do and the millions of dollars it'll take to pay for it. Our office is committed to chasing funding. We've been successful in the past of getting, whether it be safety dollars through the Ohio Department of Transportation. We haven't really had success, but we haven't really tried to go after federal discretionary dollars. The bipartisan infrastructure law, if anyone watches the news, you heard about all the infrastructure money that was approved a couple years ago. There are discretionary grants available to do things like this, and I would love to maybe see if some of these potential projects could fit a discretionary need or a discretionary purpose of those dollars, and see if we can put them to use here in Springfield and Clark County. So some other planning initiatives I wanted to briefly touch on: the East Side Sub-Area Study. We continue to see development pressures on the east side of Clark County and Springfield, probably from Columbus spilling over a bit. It's booming over there, and it's starting to creep its way over here to Naughty Parks development, things like that. So we are doing a traffic study to make sure that with all this new development, that our transportation system will be able to handle it. Will we need turn lanes? Will there need to be widenings? Will the signals be able to handle it, and things like that? So we'll be wrapping that up in early 2024. We are about to kick off a countywide roundabout study. Depending on who you talk to, they hate roundabouts or love roundabouts. We have one here in Clark County that just opened out by Shawnee. I've heard nothing but good things about it. Traffic moves efficiently through there. So we're going to do a countywide study to see if there's other intersections in Clark County where they may be a good fit. That'll be wrapping up. We're about to get started. It'll probably take about a year to complete. I mentioned earlier the one-way, two-way street conversion study. That'll be a quick study because it's just kind of, like I said, putting 2023 numbers on study that's already been done. Take a couple months, but we'll probably get into that next year. We're going to do a City of Springfield safety-wide signal study to see if all the signal systems in town are warranted, and there's any candidates for removal if the city commission would like to see any removed so they no longer have to be maintained. And if, in addition to that, also making sure that they're operating efficiently as they should be. And then the final thing I wanted to hit on, it's my understanding that the city of Springfield has been approached by Ohio Edison about your power pole or your lights and changes to those rates. So in talking with City Manager Brian Heck, and use our planning dollars to go and do an asset inventory of all the streetlights in town, and see how bright they are, how not bright, or which ones need replaced, things like that. And we'll get into that next year, and it'll probably go into 2025. So with that, if anyone has any questions, anyone in the audience, anyone watching at home, if you have any questions about anything I just said, it was a 5-minute introduction about what we do. It could take an hour. Obviously, I'm not going to go into that, but if you have any questions about the TCC or our planning dollars, that is my email. My phone number is 937-521-2134. And I'm, transportation nerd. I'm happy to talk about this anytime if anyone has any questions. Any questions from commission?
Commissioners?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Louis, we're very excited for the streetlight study because the city, like everyone else, has to pay its power bill. And Ohio Edison has made it very clear that the rates they charge for us to light the streets is going to go up significantly. So it only makes sense to look at what our alternatives are and see, can we avoid some of the rate increase, and if so, how? The other study I know that's already been completed and has moved to action, I would appreciate you commenting on, because I think a lot of people here are going to be interested, and that's the mass transit study that TCC completed and that the city is now working with you to implement. And if Steve Thompson is here, I think, if not, maybe you can comment, Mr. Heck. I think we're only a year and a half or so away from implementing that study. There's Steve.
I know a little bit about it.
Talk about the planning of
Sure.
it.
Yeah. So we use planning funds that we have to do a transit needs assessment, and it confirmed what we've known anecdotally, that SCAT, Springfield City Area Transit, is a system that's been around for a long time. It hasn't really evolved much since its founding. And rather than the fixed route large buses that you see, it may be time to adopt more of a demand response service. And it's my understanding that the city of Springfield is working towards a spring of 2024 rollout for that. I know Jason By, who I saw him in the audience earlier, he's a big part of that team. Steve, Brian. So we actually had a meeting this morning about TCC funding helping offset some of city costs for the what's the word, software. I'm blanking on the term, dispatch equipment. So, but yeah, anything I missed out there?
Yeah, and I had either Jason or Steve, if you want to give a quick update.
Yeah, just to echo what Lewis was saying, we're just trying to update the system to make it more user-friendly and lower cost of maintenance for the city and the residents who use that system. So hopefully moving to an on-demand model will help increase ridership and encourage everyone to give it a try when it does come out.
Would you explain what that demand response ridership is? Because I don't think most people understand what we're talking about. We're doing away with the fixed route.
Correct. So, and Lewis, feel free to jump in too, but this will be a system where instead of fixed route large buses, we'll move to a model with smaller vehicles such as minivans. And basically it'll be something akin to Uber or Lyft, where you schedule a ride and there's pretty much from point A to point B. You won't be reliant on a fixed route schedule. You'll be able to basically schedule the ride you want for wherever you want to go within the city.
Thank you.
Yeah, when I was an intern many moons ago, one of my tasks was Glenn Massey, the transit planner office, gave me a hypothetical itinerary where I had to get a job at Meyer and then go to Social Security to get my Social Security card. It took me like 3.5 hours. With this new, if you miss the bus at Meyer by 2 minutes, you have to sit there for 50 minutes till it comes around again. So this is just a much more efficient model, like Steve said, Uber type door to door. So I imagine if another intern did what I did back 13 years ago, it would not take nearly as long.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn the hearing?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill,
Yes.
Ms. Phillips.
Yes.
Mr. Rue,
Yes.
Dr. Estrop.
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes.
Thank you, Louis.
We're right on schedule. So I call to order the meeting of the City Commission. Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop.
Here?
Mr. O'Neill.
Here.
Ms. Phillips.
Here.
Mr. Rue.
Here.
Mr. Copeland.
Here. Please rise for the invocation. Our God, we're hopeful to have a good meeting this evening. Help us to listen to each other and try to learn from each other what our concerns are. In your name we pray. Amen.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop.
Yes.
Mr. Rue.
Yes.
Ms. Phillips.
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yes.
Mr. Copeland.
Yes. Clerk, proceed with first readings.
Authorizing the forgiveness of the remaining balance on an installment loan and a deferred loan and release of the city's mortgage with Project Woman of Springfield and Clark County Incorporated for the redevelopment of 1316 East High Street. Authorizing the city manager to enter into a grant agreement with Springfield Foundation for a grant in an amount up to $6,000 to support the Legacy 24 initiative and Legacy Club activities presented in Springfield City Schools. And authorizing the city manager, finance director, and law director to perform all acts and execute all documents they consider necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said grant and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements. Authorizing the acceptance of a donation in the amount of $6,000 from the Crable Family Foundation to support the Legacy 24 initiative and Legacy Club activities presented in Springfield City Schools.
Any questions or comments from commissioners?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Item 229-23, I'm wondering if we can get a little more specific information about what the Legacy 24 initiative is and the Legacy Club. And then I was wondering if item 230-23 is related to item 229, since they both deal with Legacy 24 and they were both in the amount of $6,000.
Yes, Commission. So, in short, yes, those two items are related for the Legacy 24, and you will recall the Legacy 24 initiative was presented during work session as it related to the neighborhood initiative as well as the Legacy Club. I'm going to ask Shannon if she wants to speak more directly about the Legacy 24 program and the information that was shared at the work session.
Very briefly, the Legacy 24 initiative or Legacy 24 movement is a product coming out of our neighborhood impact team in community development that focuses on engaging neighbors throughout the community. It is designed to enhance existing neighborhood associations, but to allow for neighborhood engagement, neighborhood influencers to participate throughout the community, specifically in their built environment, in their neighborhood, and create more connections between them and city government and other projects that are going on. Keeping with the theme, that is very important. One of our core values in community development is that youth engagement is just as important right now as it is when the youth are adults in the future. And so we have partnered with the Springfield City Schools. We've launched 6 different legacy clubs, 2 elementary, 2 middle, and 2 high school legacy clubs with Springfield City Schools based on the Leader in Me curriculum. And we will be meeting in these schools once a month so that's 6 times a month, once a month in each school, to work with students from grades 5 through 10 to identify opportunities within their neighborhoods that can be enhanced in partnership with neighborhood influencers, city government, and themselves.
Thank you. Super.
welcome.
That's just great. Thank you.
Anything else from commissioners? No, we don't do that on this.
First reading, yes, we.
What? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
My name is Mike Lowe. You have my address on file. I wanted to find out more about that Legacy 24. Is all neighborhoods participating in that? And is the schools paying for some of this? Because we had neighborhood associations before. Basically, there's only 2 neighborhoods left, SENA, Southeast Neighborhood Association, and West End Committee. So I was just wondering what's going on with this.
Commissioner, I can have Shannon speak a little bit to that if you would like.
Like I mentioned, the Legacy 24 initiative is a citywide movement that is developed to enhance existing neighborhoods as well as create opportunities for neighbors who aren't in traditional existing neighborhood associations that were created in the late 80s and early 90s to also have that engaged and empowered opportunity and partnership with the community. There are still legacy neighborhoods throughout the city, more than 2, but for sure those numbers are dwindling. And so this new model is to enhance, not to replace.
And also, Shannon, I think it might also add a little insight. Mr. Mike, do you mind if I share out the schools that are participating? So on the elementary level, it is Fulton and Lagonda. Middle school, it is Schaefer and Hayward. High school is Springfield High and the School of Innovation on Selma Road.
I'm sorry, I did not answer whether or not the schools are participating financially. The schools are committing a lot of resources within the building as well as transportation for other activities. The funds that are a subject tonight, one was a out-of-cycle grant that we were invited to apply for because of the uniqueness of the program. And then when one foundation found out about the other foundation's contribution, they said they'd like to do the same.
Anyone else? Clerk will proceed with second reading.
Amending the zoning map of Springfield, Ohio by rezoning 3.367 acres at 280 South Claremont Avenue and Raffensperger Avenue, Springfield, Ohio, from RS5 Low Density Single Family Residential District to RS5 Low Density Single Family Residential District and OPD8 Plant Development Housing Overlay District.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
I just want to remind or be clarified, this is for zoning only tonight. This is not authorizing a subdivision. It is zoning only of the property.
This is the zoning and lays out the OPDH overlay, correct? Wood Dahy, if you want to speak to that directly, but
Yes, it's an overlay for the existing zoning district. The zoning district is not changing. It's just an overlay, a design overlay.
Okay.
I drove over to this parcel in question shortly after the meeting last time and walked up and around the area. I did not notice any trash or any more trash than I would have noticed as I walk on Fountain, okay? So I tried to look for that. I saw a couple of the trees, I think, that were brought up by the citizens the last time that have grown for a while. And I also noticed that there's probably an 8-foot bank from the sidewalk walking up. So it's not an easily accessible area to enjoy with the neighborhood from that street side. It's a beautiful piece of property. And I can understand and would hear the concerns of why it would be difficult to see a single family housing overlay over that property that's been in enjoyed since the school was torn down over time. It would be difficult. I will say, however, it is hard to not vote in favor of this overlay because it meets exactly what we're looking for: quality development in legacy neighborhoods like that area. Quality development, not in this, and I won't say it's not a high density overlay. Okay, so I don't mean that's not quality or quality. All I'm saying is we're not building apartment buildings there, which would not fit that particular neighborhood. We're not building anything, by the way. This is just voting on overlay. So I just want to acknowledge I heard the concerns the last time. I did go out to that area. It is a beautiful piece of property. I believe the developer's desire is to develop nice quality homes in that area. And so I'll be voting in favor of this.
And also some of the concerns last week about the drainage, that will also be addressed prior to a shovel going in the ground. So everything will be dealt with by the planning and the BZA on the overlay.
I just wanted to say that I'm really excited to see someone from that neighborhood, in which I hold dear as well, coming back to Springfield and using his resources in this area, in his very neighborhood.
And lastly, I also believe there was a comment about, I think, a smirk about the level or the cost of the houses. They're hopeful to receive over 200 or up to 300,000. If you look at Zillow and other, I know there's some real estate brokers in the room, but if you look at the housing market, these type of houses will yield that sale. And so, I would wish the developer the best, any developer in our area, to do the best they can. But the houses are going for a higher price. So it would be surprising if I lived in that neighborhood for 50 years thinking that somebody's going to put a house in there for 250 to 300,000. But at the same point, it is what the market is yielding these days. I think I could see a realtor maybe acknowledge that.
Yes, I will be supporting this. We've been working very hard to encourage single-family homes within the city of Springfield, particularly in our legacy neighborhoods where there are vacant lots and vacant property. So why would we not want to do this? These will be single-family homes. The estimated cost, they're called market rate because it's whatever the market will bear. The estimate is $200,000 homes. So they will be nice homes, and they will be in a great neighborhood.
And if you really have concerns, you can drive over to the Northern Avenue area where there have been 20 new homes built just 2 years ago that are selling for just what this is being marketed for, in the $250,000 range. So, and it's a former school site also.
Anything else from commissioners? Clerk, call the roll.
No. Comments from the audience. Mayor, comments from the audience.
Okay.
Thank you very much for allowing us to speak on this issue, and I appreciate that. Brian, at the last meeting, we talked about the city storm drains and the sanitation sewer. Is there going to be an upgrade of those? Because I should have another neighbor here tonight, Marty Neiswanger. He lives a little bit further north of the area. He also has water issues in his basement, that we end up with 2 feet, up to 4 feet of water on our street because of that. Will this be upgraded for us?
This project specifically does not lead to that upgrade, but our service department has been out even after the last meeting to look at the issues that you're talking about, to look at the size of the system there, look at the catch basins, see what issues may be propagating that. As we discussed at the last meeting as well, the intensity of the rainfalls that we have seen has led to flooding in areas of the city that we've never seen flooding before.
Yes, right.
Because we're experiencing 10-year storm events almost each event that we have. And so our service department, again, has already actively been looking at the area mentioned by you. I believe tried to make contact with you and maybe did, but they would like to evaluate and analyze the system in that area to see what upgrades may be needed.
Okay. Again, our neighborhood, my home was built in 1926, so so it's almost 100 years old. As there are other neighbors here that have a home that's probably the same age. We were once in the country. It would be one thing to have a new housing project, and I commend the young man for wanting to do it. I truly would like to have seen it turned into a park for our neighborhood because we have no green spaces to speak of. I think there's one down in the Lane Addition south of us. That was my hope. But my other hope would be that the homes that you choose to build will be conducive to the atmosphere and the look of our 100-year-old neighborhood. That's going to make a big difference between it looking like what's over, and bless the people's hearts that live over on South Burnett Road currently, but I don't want it to look like the property at McGuffey, where McGuffey School was. Have you seen that? Where there is, I mean, you are right on top of each other. That concerns me for the families that immediately surround that. I'm at least a block and a half away. So that's not going to affect my looking out my bedroom window. But do we need it on every square inch of property? That's my concern, that we're going to overbuild.
I will just add to that comment, the density that you spoke of on the Northern Avenue, the McCrite property, that density is higher per acre than what you're going to see. Again, this overlay protects that because it sets 9 single-family lots, which is a lot less dense than what was built on McCrite.
On South Claremont's going to be 9 individual lots?
No, the total property between Raffensperger and Claremont will be 9 total single-family lots. And I know the developer's here as well, and he can answer to that, as well. But that is less dense than what is shown or what was built on McCrite.
Okay. Are
These are larger lots.
larger lots? And I'm pleased with that. And thank you very much, Mr. Kelly, for that. Are they also going to get a tax abatement like they will over on Mercy Hospital?
So the CRA, the Community Reinvestment Area, which was approved by the commission, which is a state-enabled through the Ohio Revised Code, a state-enabled incentive, covers about 3/4 of the city. And so that property is, the people that would purchase those homes would be eligible for that CRA tax abatement.
Can you tell us how long that abatement will last?
For residential new construction, it's 15 years, 100% on the new valuation.
So those of us who have a 100-year-old home are still going to pay the value, even though it's going to upgrade our property, our taxes are going to go up, and we don't get any assistance on that? I just think that length of an abatement is, that is not what I'm here for. And I apologize for that. I should not have brought that up. Please excuse me. But that was my concern, that it would be high density. The homes would not look like our 100-year-old neighborhood. That's my big concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving the acceptance of an Assistance to Firefighters grant from the Federal Emergency Management Agency in an amount up to $43,761.54 for specialized first responder training, authorizing the local matching expenditure in an amount not to exceed $4,376.16, and authorizing the city manager, finance director, law director, and fire chief perform all acts and execute all documents they consider necessary to fulfill the city's obligations under said grant and to comply with all relevant local, state, and federal legal requirements.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments?
I was wondering, Mr. Heck, if Chief King could, again, since we have some different folks here tonight, might tell us what this grant's going to be used for.
Yes, certainly.
All right, thank you, sir. Thank you, Mayor, Commissioners. This grant specifically is specialized incident command training. So it's going to train our entire workforce in the principles of managing incidences so that we can ensure the safety of our firefighters, our community members, and it will enhance our overall operation, as well as come into compliance with federal mandates of following the National Incident Management System. And so this is $47,000 that we're getting for a cost of $4,000 that will be immeasurable in the amount of abilities that we'll receive from this training.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we're ready now. Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Accepting the recommendations of the Tax Incentive Review Council for Enterprise Zone Agreements and Community Reinvestment Area Agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
I was wondering if we might have more detailed information about exactly what's going on with this order.
Yeah, so specifically, Commission, we have enterprise zone abatements, tax abatements, and I just spoke about the community reinvestment area abatements. And so every year annually, there is a Turk board or a Turk council that meets to review those, to see that they're meeting, whether it was a business and meeting business projections in terms of jobs and investment, to the housing side, that they're meeting the terms of the CRA abatement. And so each year they review each individual agreement to see that it's in compliance, and then they make a recommendation to either continue it, to cancel or terminate it, or, they do reach the end of those abatements, and so they, basically close out the agreement itself. And so they make a recommendation. In this year's report, they have recommended continuance for all existing abatements that are on file.
The numbers here are pretty incredible. I mean, we're seeing jobs created from this, the value of property going up pretty millions of dollars.
Yeah, and so these programs are programs enacted at the state level through the Ohio Revised Code, and allows municipalities and counties and jurisdictions to adopt these programs as a ability to attract jobs, to attract new housing, et cetera. And so, yes, we have been able to successfully use these programs, these tools that are provided from the state for our municipality.
This successfully holds the employer's feet to the fire to get the abatement that he agreed to when he signed the form as far as employment is concerned, renovations and things of that nature. This is what makes that happen.
Correct.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Dr. Estra?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming purchases and the obtaining of services for the city and providing for payments therefor, and declaring an emergency therein.
Move to adopt.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience?
Okay, my name is Mike Lowe, and I would like to know all three of those emergency ordinances, what they consist of, how much money, what are they going to be used for, and why is it emergency on all three of the emergency ordinances.
Now, I'll ask Katie Evanston can speak to what the moral obligations, supplemental appropriations, what those do. And then as far as the 05923, which is the change order for the traffic signal project at High and East Street, that is simply changing the completion date from September 1 to the end of the month to allow for the contractor to submit final invoice for that project and be paid. So it's just simply changing the completion date from September 1 to the end of this month, again, so that contractor can do final invoice and be paid for that project that's been completed.
For the first item, which is the moral obligations, so just to explain what a moral obligation is. So the city's codified ordinances define a moral obligation as any expenditure over $100 where the finance director has not certified that the funds were available for those goods or services prior to the date that those were provided. So essentially what that means is that a purchase order was not in place prior to obtaining the goods or services. So due to timing and business need, these arise normally in the course of business and are necessary for the city to operate. So the reason that these are an emergency is to preserve those vendor relationships and making payment. The vendors already provided the good or service, so now we are obligated to pay them timely. So that is why moral obligations are an emergency item. Supplemental appropriations, these are the appropriations that we have in place or budget that we have in place in order to expend dollars for any items or goods that the city is purchasing. So we're a lot of times limited by the OSER, which is our Certificate of Estimated Resources, which we present in the tax budget, to where we have to wait for revenues to come in to where we can adjust that so that we can appropriate the expenses, the funds for the expenses that we present in the preliminary budget.
I still would like to know how much money it is that we're going to be spending on 0523 and what for. Didn't you just pass a couple weeks back the blanket emergency order for a large amount of money? So I would like to know exactly what this is for and how much.
Yeah, specifically for supplemental appropriations, you said 005-23. The main expenditures that are being appropriated here relate to emergency demolitions. So $165,000 additional for demolitions. That need for those additional funds or that supplemented fund is because we've had a lot of emergency demolitions throughout the city, throughout the past year. And so we need to reallocate funds so that we can continue our demolition program. And then the other main one is specifically related to the NOMC, the National Advanced Air Mobility Center of Excellence, related to two items specifically, and that's for Garber Electric for install of cabling and data network at that facility at the airport, as well as for Marker, who is the general contractor on that project. And so that's allocating an additional $600,000 for that specific project.
The $165,000 demolition, would some of that been for the hotel that was torn
No,
down?
that is not related to that project. And that $165,000 is spread across all the demolitions. So we average anywhere between $9,000 to $20,000 for emergency demolitions specifically, sometimes more because of asbestos abatement. But that $165,000 is to keep the entire demolition program moving forward so that we can continue to have demolition as a part of our plan to help with our neighborhoods.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Providing for supplemental appropriations within various funds and declaring an emergency therein.
So move.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments? Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Confirming and approving change order number 1 to the contract between the city and Param Electric Incorporated for the high-end East Street traffic signal project to extend the contract completion date to September 29, 2023, authorizing the city manager to execute said change order number 1 and declaring it an emergency therein.
So moved.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission? From the audience? Clerk will call the roll.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes?
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
Accepting the amounts and rates allocated to the city of Springfield, Ohio as determined by the Budget Commission of Clark County, Ohio, authorizing the necessary tax levies, providing for the certification of this resolution and the tax levies to the county auditor of Clark County, Ohio, and declaring an emergency therein.
So move.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Questions or comments from the commission?
Could we hear just a little more about this one?
course, Commissioner. So this is the annual measure that comes before commission. Ohio Revised Code requires that commission accepts the dollar amount and millage rate calculated and allocated to the city in the following year by the Clark County Budget Commission. These amounts are the same that was presented to commission back in June in the 2024 tax budget hearing. Those amounts are roughly $3 million for the special police levy, $600,000 for the police and fire pension, and $414,000 that is a pass-through to the Springfield Conservancy District.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. Rue?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?
Yes.
That's the end of the agenda items.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from commissioners?
Yeah, I have a few comments. Thank you. I want to just kind of reflect publicly back on the last meeting, and I want to thank the citizens who did come out and express their right to be heard, their right to express their concern. We have an opportunity to do that every other week, beginning at 7 o'clock when the commission meeting starts. And the things that were brought up about the community, I went into learning mode, finding out mode the next morning. I discussed some things with Brian Heck, our city manager, right away. The following morning by 9 o'clock, I asked him to convene a meeting with all employment agencies in the area, which happened since we met. I also met with a local manufacturer who to understand and learn about hiring practices with immigrant members of the community, and also discuss things with their HR director to try to find out more details and understanding. Lots of information is available, as you're all aware, online. I want to thank Andrea Smith, who emailed us a document from ACF, and this is the Department of Health and Human Services Administration for Children and Families, specifically discussing Cuban and Haitian entrance documents required and information. I thought this was helpful. I've made about 10 copies if anybody wants to look at that, but I wanted to thank her specifically for sharing that with us. I had a meeting with Congressman Turner in a roundtable discussion in Dayton, and brought up the concern about the increase immigrant population in our community that we've experienced. I told him we've had a measurable over 10% increase in our city population in 3 to 5 years. I told him that our not only our safety services, police, fire, and other services, but our nonprofit organizations are taxed to the max. And the concern as a city commissioner is to continue to have a safe environment and to serve in a safe way. And that would be a concern, I'm sure, for the commissioners here, but I'm just speaking for myself. And so this is something where he took me aside and talked to me later and tried to give me some more pathways of information to find out. And also kind of gave me some suggestions on how to move forward as a city. And I'll share that with you in a minute. We did have a meeting with 6 agencies, I believe, of the 9 that we called in Clark County that showed up. Pretty forthright meeting. I'm a citizen, but it was my thought, let me go to the employment agencies, people who deal directly with immigrants coming into our communities and finding work and jobs. What does that look like for an immigrant individual to walk into the door of an employment agency? What documents do they need to produce to be a candidate for employment? They all shared information. I met with one employment agency alone and discussed that with them as well. And so one of the purposes for the meeting was to also let them know that the city is very aware that there is a very large immigrant population in the community. We hear it from you all, we know that. I know that may sound juvenile and ignorant, but at the same point, we want you to know, the agencies, that this is important to us, and we're looking into this. And we also know that, in my opinion, there are a doorway for these folks to get employment. We want to make sure that's done in a safe and right way, that immigrants are taken care of. They're here, folks. They're here in our community, as we all know, and we need to make sure that there are safe opportunities for them. Okay? Yes, immigrants are being brought into our community by buses and vans. I did ask that flat out, and again, another question that was just obvious, but I asked that. And it is also my understanding that There's also individuals that have been here for quite some time, immigrants that have been here for quite some time that have also shared the news of being in this area, that there's job opportunities. Whether this door was open or by an employment agency or not, but I will say that there is, even from the manufacturing company I met with, they're doing direct hires to immigrants. They're not necessarily always dealing with employment agencies. So immigrants are coming to their doorstep with the proper paperwork to try to find jobs. In no way am I saying that every immigrant in our community has the paperwork they need to have. That was discovered clearly when I met with Jenny Martez the next day, or I believe on Friday, who leads our DJFS, Department of Jobs and Family Services, and spent about an hour and a half with her. I wanted to know what benefits our immigrant population are receiving and why, just like you would. She told me flat out that when somebody brings the proper paperwork as an immigrant, as a refugee, as an asylum status, that they are mandated by the federal government to provide the same benefits that anybody would walk in with proper paperwork. Mandated. Those are not city funds. Those are federal and state funds. This is not a pass the buck statement. I'm just telling you that's where the monies are coming from. Okay? And then there's additional funds available. It's like there's an endless amount of information. But I'm just reporting to you based on what your concerns were. This is what this commissioner did when I left the meeting. And then following the meeting with employment agencies and kind of concluding some of my information to this point, 2 weeks since we had the meeting that we had the last time, I'm asking our city manager, Brian Heck, I'm requesting that he establish an immigration accountability response team. And this is to investigate issues and matters, including but not limited to employment, housing, crime, and driver's education. There's one meeting that hasn't happened, is we are meeting this Friday with Ohio BMV. So this is obviously due to the drastic increase in the immigrant population in our city. This team will be comprised of 4 to 5 staff members that Brian will lead. And also the purpose of this is to establish a team that will report to the city commission and obviously publicly their findings, and we'll be able to ask them. This is not a put-off opportunity. We were actually encouraged to form this. There is a immigrant task force within our community, mostly comprised, I believe 99% comprised of nonprofits, okay? So the only way, just a minute.
Please don't.
So just a minute, let me just finish what I'm saying, okay?
When the time comes, you can speak, but not in the middle of his speaking, please.
So I just want to finish by saying the only way that we can gather information as a government agency is to put together a group that I will be asking on a regular basis. I want information quick. I'm sure people want information very quickly, but we need to establish something formally so we can have information to pass along. One of my questions to the congressman is we need help with our safety forces. I'm not asking that funds would come directly to, I believe there's enough programs to help folks that are in our community that need help. But I will say that our safety forces, our nonprofits, they need funds to be able to serve properly, period. Our safety forces. We need to be able to hire more police officers. We need to be able to hire fire personnel. And one of the ways we possibly could do that is to receive funds at the federal level or the state level. So I just wanted to, like I said, report back on that. And I know that that's not even enough answers at any level, but I will say that it's just a step. It is a slower process, and I would like to get some concrete answers, but at the same point, the only way that we can do it is to establish something official, like a team, to report back on findings. That we'll have definitely significant reports sooner than later if we don't do that. So I just want to let you know there is lots of information available, and that is what happened to this point. My meetings are not over. I already have a couple meetings scheduled after this to continue to find out information. And I just want to promise you, as a representative of the city, I will push and I will ask hard questions. I always do. I always have. I don't care about finding out the truth and who it offends and who it hurts. I want to know the answers just like you do. And if there are people here that should not be here or brought in to be abused or trafficked in any way, I want to find out. And I want to point to those people, and I want to make sure that they're highlighted. Because if there is harm that has been brought to our community or people have been brought in an illegal way, then we need to make sure that that we can have a safer environment. I know I'm getting I'm just saying, I'm getting lots of looks, and I'm trying not to field those. And I spilled my water all over me and everything, sorry.
I definitely.
But anyway, I just want to say, I'm trying. That's all I got to say.
And I wanted to add to that, the legwork that you've been doing, Rob, has been wonderful, as well as you coming, especially to me, to reach out to say, this is where we're at. Do you have any ideas? And just letting me know, that legwork that you've taken the last week, and I appreciate you for that.
Mr. Estrop.
As Commissioner Rue cleans up his spill, I too want to thank you, Rob, for all the work that you've done. I have been trying to contact both Senator Sherrod Brown and Senator J.D. Vance because the immigration policies are set at the federal level, not at the local level, not at the state level, but at the federal level, the national level. And I, last night, had the good fortune to speak to Senator Brown's Chief of Staff for the state of Ohio, John Ryan. And John sent me this information with permission to share it with you, brother. This is a quote from Senator Sherrod Brown. It is clear to me presidents of both parties have failed on this, the immigration issue. And we need to send more resources to the border. Now, standing behind that is that Senator Brown was among the 66 senators who in 2013, 10 years ago, voted for a compromise bipartisan immigration bill. It never even got a vote in the House of Representatives. They killed it. 66 senators out of 100 voted for this bill, and the House of Representatives wouldn't even allow it to come to a vote. So I'm not kidding when I urge you to please write to your particular House members. Brian assures me we will have their addresses up on our website because they need to hear from you that this is not something they can just discard, which is exactly what they did in 2013. Lately, about a year ago, the Senate again approached this issue. Independent Senators Sinema and Senator Tom Tillis, a Republican from North Carolina, forced a vote on border security in December, and voting with the majority was Senators Brown, Manchin, Sinema, Tester, and Senator Jackie Rosen, Democrat from Nevada. So it appears to me that the United States Senate is willing to act on this. And we need to encourage Senator Brown to continue to advocate for immigration reform. Two things, he says: strengthen the border and provide the humanitarian aid that's needed. Those two things. Now, I tried to call J.D. Vance's office. His staff member set 3 meetings with me and canceled every damn one of them. Now, he told me the last time we talked that I'll call you to set the 4th meeting. I'm not holding my breath. I want to encourage you to write Senator Vance and tell him that we are alive and well here in Clark County and Springfield, and that we do vote. And that probably it would be in his best interest not to ignore us. And I mean it. Free cancellations. He needs to know we're here. So please write him. And secondly, tell him we need a bipartisan effort in both the House and the Senate around immigration. We did it back in 2013. And the House of Representatives wouldn't take it up. Would not take it up. Because the Republican-controlled House didn't want to deal with it.
No.
That's,
If you want to,
that's, ladies
Just a
and
minute.
gentlemen,
Please.
that was who was in control.
please,
That is who is in control of the House when that bill came from the Senate. It was a Republican leader. Now, you can complain and not be happy and grumble about it, but the Republican Party was in control of the House in 2013. They control it. They decide what bills get through and what bills don't.
Hey,
Yeah,
just a minute,
please.
Just a minute. I need to recognize people in the audience before you speak. You can't just talk, okay? That's how we keep order in the bill. It's not like I like this job,
That's right.
but you need to be recognized before you speak, okay?
That's why it's so important to write Senator Vance and tell him that we would love to talk to him about this issue. Because at this point,
I want to be
3
next.
canceled meetings.
I want to be next.
So that's what I had to report out.
I didn't recognize you, please.
That's what I have to report out. And again, I want to state what Senator Brown said. It's clear to me, presidents of both parties have failed on this. And we need to send more resources to the border. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Neill.
Yeah. Referring to last week's meeting, again, I also appreciate everybody that came out. The reason I did is
2
because
weeks ago, not last week.
the last meeting, 2 weeks. Time flies when we're having fun. But anyway, I learned an awful lot. I learned about some particular players that I've verified also, and there's some truth to all the statements. But let me tell you what I really learned, and not just last 2 weeks ago. I was really taken aback at the rocking horse presentation. That just shocked me to death. I mean, I didn't realize, none of us really realized the amount of new people that we had in our community until things like that happened. Their budget is astronomical when you're talking about $400 and some odd thousand over that they don't have in their budget. No, let me, now he's right. You do need to let.
Please. You have to be recognized.
No.
Quit it.
Rocking Horse is a
You just keep
nonprofit, ma'am.
interrupting people. Be quiet,
Okay.
please.
The second thing over the last 2 years that I've learned from the fire division and others, the interpreter program that we have, there are computer programs that can help us an awful lot that we're not able to, quite frankly, afford right this minute, and we need those badly. The hospital has them because you can't talk to some of the people. They act like they don't understand or they truly don't understand. But we need this. Ma'am, you need to let me, please. I don't need his help to shop you. I'm talking, please. Now, we do need the interpreters, the machines, the computer, the help from the computers. We need to figure out how many we need, and we need to get them. It hasn't been that long ago, out on Home Road, that an entire building was burnt down. That an entire building was burnt down by a situation just like this because there was no communication. They couldn't communicate with what was going.
Please.
With what was going on.
If you want to talk, you need to, I need to recognize you.
So again,
Talk. Okay? But
So
you
the
can't speak out.
bottom line, I'm telling you the truth.
bottom line. You guys hate to hear the truth.
That's right. But at the end of the day, we may be behind in some of the things that we really, really need to have to deliver services that we have to deliver. And again, there's several examples. And I want to deal with the local problem. We got to deal with it ourselves regardless of what the feds are going to give us, we have to find a way to make it happen. And I feel that we have the ability to do that. But we also need their help where they'll give us their help. And that's from the BMV that they say they're going to meet with tomorrow. That's imperative. These people need. My son told me today, he says, it's not that we don't want the people here. We want them to live like we live. We want them to abide by the rules, the same rules that we have to abide by. Whether you're getting a driver's license, whether you're getting things from the DJF, whether you do anything, as long as you do it all right, and speaking English would help, but that's going to be a long time coming. So again, I sympathize with it also. I'm willing to do what I can do. I really appreciate Commissioner Rue's help in doing some of the things, the footwork that he has done, the legwork. So, there you go. And
I just wanted to say really quickly.
You can sign a card and you can be recognized. Let's try to run a meeting. I'm not trying to.
Good.
I just wanted to point out that, again, I feel very sensitive to the fact that people are saying these people, things of that nature. I just want to make sure that we are being respectful and being humane as we move through this conversation.
I agree.
For sure. Yes, ma'am. And I just think that we do need to be mindful of that situation and making sure that all of our conversations are based in, again, that humanity, the common sense, and just being kind to one another as human beings. So I just wanted to throw that out there as we move forward.
Okay, the system we have, some people are using. Want to talk, fill out your card to be recognized.
Right.
Mr. Brew will have a card. Okay, we're not trying to keep it.
Yep.
We're trying to organize.
Excellent. I have we'll call in a stack of folks that have taken the opportunity to write in cards. You are to say your name and address publicly from the microphone when you come up to the microphone. And then Jill, our clerk, is also going to keep time so we can have a 3-minute time limit. She will raise her hand when your time is up. And at that point, we're going to ask you to go ahead and take your seat and allow the next person to have their opportunity to speak publicly. Okay,
Has everybody gotten a card? If you have one, have you turned it in? Okay, cool. Just wanted to make sure we had everybody. Thank
and
you.
you're a teacher and you interrupt.
Oh, yes, I know. That's what
All right.
teachers do.
Okay. So our the first card is Stephen Scott. And then if Masika Darby could go to the other microphone and be ready to speak. Sir, your name and address for the record, please.
Stephen Scott, 146 5th Street, Springfield, Ohio, 45504. I got a couple issues. First one is a sewer issue. Every time it rains on 5th Street, the city has come out and put blacktop down. But the closest drain from my house is towards the end of the street. And when we get a lot of rain comes up halfway up into my driveway. From 2 houses down from me, all the way to Limestone, it's flooded. And I've brought it up to the city council before, and all they did was come out, put blacktop down, say, oh, that's going to take care of the problem. But it hasn't. The second issue I've got is the trees. The city puts all these trees in between the sidewalk and curb. But when those trees die out, the city takes them out. But when it comes to plumbing sidewalk issues, driveway issues, it's up to the homeowner's responsibility. I've got collapsed pipe in my house because of the maple trees that they put out between my sidewalk and the street. And they said, nope, it's not our problem. It's your problem. I think that's a bunch of bull. The city puts these trees in, make it beautified. I understand. But when it comes down to sidewalk repairs, plumbing issues, or anything else, it's not the city's problem. It's a homeowner's. Because between the sidewalk to the house, it's all homeowners' responsibility. And the city puts these trees in, and I think the city should be responsible for taking care of the homeowners of everything that they're doing.
My name is Masika Darby. I live on 620 West Pleasant Street here in Springfield. I really came here today to apologize for last meeting because this is not your fault. There is nothing you can do but try to fix what has been done. I've done a lot of research and I've noticed that, yes, this is on a federal level. I think the biggest thing here is people they want to know how many immigrants are we going to take into our cities and, into our residents, because I don't want them to be without. I don't want to see them homeless. I don't want to see them, unsafe. I would hope everybody feels the same. But we also have to understand how much this country, this is not just our city, this is all over. New York, Texas, they're sending them on buses to different cities like Springfield because they don't have the room. How many are we going to have to take to say, okay, what do we do now? Our homeless, our schools. I know you guys have seen Clark. They can't give, there's around the block. Like, that's what we're really trying to kind of get. But like I said, I apologize because there's nothing you guys can do. All you can do is try to help with the presentation the guy had, the TCC. That was good. Finding sidewalks, finding different ways of transportation for them. That helps them too. So I agree with that. But that's all I really can say, because you guys, this is not too much. You can yell at them all you want. This is our president.
I'm sorry.
And that's how I feel.
I have a question for her, Rent. Did you speak to Rent the last time? Am I right? Did you stand up and speak? I wanted to also put landlords on notice, because I have, obviously, you've heard this, but I've uncovered landlords who are exploiting, selling beds for $100 to $500 per bed.
They are.
I have friends that live in areas where they know families that are paying above and beyond exploited rent. So
Yes.
that's just to put landlords on notice. We're looking into that too. And thank God we've established the rental property registry, because we need to make sure that there's fair rent for the very reason you brought up, so you can pay your fair market rent as well. So thank you. Next, the next card that we have is a Deborah Simon. And then if Mark Saunders could go to the opposite mic, please. Sanders, sorry, Mark. Only known you a few years.
I prepared a little speech here, so
You could do your name and
I'm gonna be
address just
reading.
publicly for the record.
my name
please.
is Deborah Simon. Springfield is in an active state of emergency because for years the mayor and the city council have failed to do their jobs. You have sat back and let this go on for 5 years and done almost nothing. Amnesty seekers have been flooding in Springfield since way before the border was just opened the last couple years ago. This is not a new problem. You say that it's not your fault, but you are the people that run this city. Springfield is in a free fall collapse because of you. Every resident is in great danger on our roads, and a little boy has already perished because of you. All of our charities are overwhelmed because of you. Businesses are being shoplifted because of you. Children are being exposed to nudity in bathrooms because of you. Our city schools, which are already performing at the lowest level in the state of Ohio, dead last in the recent Ohio Schools Report Card, they can't take any more children. Our medical providers are overwhelmed because of you. There are no homes for low-income Springfield natives because of you. And what is this tent city at Columbus Avenue in Northmont? Since you say that you don't know how to do your job, I will tell you, and please write these down. And I understand that Mr. Rue has done a few of them, but we need to find out, how are they getting here? And to stop the buses from dropping them off, to stop them at that point and send them on to a amnesty city like Columbus. Send them on. Don't let them get off the bus. You need to get on the phone with all the schools, the businesses, the hospitals, the charities, the social services, the law enforcement, the court system, the church, the DMV, etc., even ICE and Homeland Security. You need to ask them and do studies. You need to find out how many are here, how many speak English, how many are living per an average household. Are there 30 people living in one house? Are they working? And where are they working at? What assistance are they asking for and not receiving? Are there issues with interpreters? How has this invasion affected each agency and business in Springfield? It is your job to know these things, and you've had more than 5 years to understand, to figure them out. Our infrastructures are collapsing because you didn't take the time to study what's going on. Last meeting, you mentioned that you didn't have any idea how they were receiving driver's licenses. I took a 3-minute web search and found out that you can go online to take the written test to receive and there's no driver's test. So they're having somebody else take the tests for them.
I want to thank you for your comments. Your 3 minutes are up. We're going to go ahead and go to Mr. Sanders. Thank you so much for speaking your mind. Mark, if you go ahead, please.
Yeah, so my name is Mark Sanders. I live out at 2254 Snyder Domer Road, and that's Northwestern School District. I want to preface by saying that my 11-year-old daughter used to ride bus 19. Thank God last year there was a route change on a different bus, but she witnessed something at first day of school that no adult should ever witness. And that was as a result of an illegal immigrant, not a migrant, not an asylum seeker, an illegal immigrant, unlicensed, uninsured, non-English speaking, that hit the bus, flipped the bus. She sent me a picture within 30 seconds of it happening, and all it said was, "Dad, it's not us. I love you." Now, Rob, I want to first of all say thank you for the research and proactive activity you've done prior to this meeting. I will tell you, I watched the last meeting online, and the combative nature of some of the individuals was truly alarming. Mr. Eastrop, I want to clarify something. Your letter from Sherrod Brown is worthless. He's a flaming liberal. Okay? If J.D. Vance can't get back with you, it's because he's actually doing something. Sherrod Brown is looking for amnesty. That's why the 2013 bill didn't pass. Be specific and clarify, okay? Don't give just basic details. Now, New York City is a population of 8.8 million. They had 100,000 immigrants show up. It's devastated their economy. We're a city of 60,000. 1.1% in New York. 60,000 with 7,000. That's 8.5%. Rocking Horse is the best example. Best example. So where's the police chief? Oh, sorry. When you pull over an illegal that has no license, can you impound the car? Okay. Do you impound the car? Why? That's an instrument of death. It should be so, Mayor. In your one of your parting things, have the police chief impound all vehicles driven by somebody without a license. You take one vehicle off the road. That way, the person that owns the vehicle's got to go to the yard, pick it up. Most of them are owned by LLCs. You know, George 10, First Diversity Staffing, owns 43 houses. in Springfield. You have your landlord registry. You have a code enforcement. I suggest you visit. He's renting 10, 12, 15 to a house. He's getting a third of their paycheck. It's nothing more than indentured servitude. So, and that's illegal. So with that,
Thank you. Mr. Sanders? Mr. Sanders?
Yes, sir.
If you could provide to Mr. Heck after the meeting the names or addresses of those residents, I will be happy to file a complaint
Auditor's
myself.
website.
Thank you.
Auditor's website. That's how I found them.
Arthur Sullivan, if you could go to one microphone, and then Brandon Ellis, if you would go to the other microphone, please. Again, please state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Arthur Solomon, 609 Westchester Park Drive, Springfield, Ohio. I'm a legal immigrant. My family immigrated here in 2001. We came here through a port of entry. We did not come here through other means. It took my mom 9 years to become a citizen. It was a long process. We had to pass a test, civics exam, all kinds of money and attorney costs. The reason I'm here is I own real estate here in town. Dr. Estrop, you actually gave us an award for one of our properties where we house migrant workers, and they come legally through the port of entry. They come from Mexico, they work, they go back. Great folks. We have never had any issues with them. We've been doing that for 5 years. We work with the state of Ohio to ensure that the house is habitable, that everything is run properly, everything goes through the state. So my question is, why, if we have this many people, why don't we have a similar kind of why don't we have a similar program for these folks that are coming in here to ensure that they're living in proper conditions? I've sold properties, 221 North Yellow Spring Street, right across the street from the hospital. There was 15 people living in the house. That's a RS5 zoning. I've spoke with you, Brian, about this. RS5 is 5 non-related people that can live in that, I believe, so I want to find out, in RS5 and RS8 zoning, if we have this landlord registry, can we enforce that? Can we go in and actually look and see the conditions of how these people are living?
Absolutely.
And also, second point, Brian, you had mentioned that there's estimates. I'm not sure where these estimates are coming from, 7 to 33,000 people that could be potentially coming. My concerns are healthcare system, the hospital system, the police. How is this all going to work? Where's the money coming from? Can we press more on the federal and the state to provide more money? Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur.
Brandon Ellis, 1840 Crescent Drive. Commissioner Rue, I want to say I truly appreciate all the hard work that you've done since that last meeting on everything you've worked on. I extend my deepest condolences to the families who were affected by the tragic accident that occurred just a few weeks ago. I'm a parent of 3 school-age children myself, and I can't imagine what they're going through. I want to share a personal story with you that's deeply shaped me. When I was in kindergarten, I had a friend, Nicholas Jones. Nick was an incredible kid. He was tall and lanky. He had a big smile. Fastest kid in the class, kickball champion. I wanted to go over to Nick's house one day, and I'm on the phone with Nick in kindergarten, and I'm talking to him, and he's sharing with me about where he lives so my dad can go there. And my dad interrupts the conversation. He says, "I'm not going to no Niggerville."
Oh, well. Okay.
Even then, I knew that was wrong. I made a conscious decision that day to break away from that mindset. I surrounded myself with people who looked and thought differently from me. This change made my life more rich. And today, it still makes my community more rich for the same reason. Strength lies in the diversity of Springfield. This change has also been instilled in my daughter. We recently had her 10th birthday party, and she had a friend over who brought her family, a Haitian family. Incredibly sweet people who have raised a kind, caring child, and I'm grateful for them. I understand that it might be challenging to live in our community at this time, but I want them to know that they are welcomed and they are valued. Unfortunately, I've witnessed incidents of hate and prejudice in our own city recently. Black friends who are business owners walking downtown, people screaming out the window to them, "Go back to Haiti." They're not even front right. I've witnessed professionals posting videos of black people just walking down the street peacefully, encouraging people to be here today to speak out against that. I ask you to please don't dismiss my words. just because it's around racism. It's crucial to recognize that we would criticize the use of Japanese internment camps and the prejudices faced against Japanese Americans following Pearl Harbor. They were stripped of due process and they were sent out. They lost due process and they were relocated. Importantly, there was no evidence that any of them posed a security threat. In fact, many of them fought in the U.S. Army in World War II. Today, we have many families being profiled in a way they have not earned. People of all races and ethnicities can contribute positively when given equality and equity. I understand that there are concerns about healthcare, education, nonprofits, and other challenges we face. However, these issues can be effectively addressed through community efforts, improved communication, and thoughtful resource allocation. And Rob, you're already doing some stuff to work on that. I appreciate that. Singling out a group of people for locked up deodorant cabinets, unethical licensing
Brandon, thank you
practices.
so much. I love what you're saying, but we're going to go to the next. Thank you so much. Thank you, Brandon. If we could have John Marion go to the microphone and Diana Daniels go to the other microphone, please. Diana, your microphone's already open there. First one to the mic can begin.
Hey, my name's John Marion.
What's your address, John, if you don't mind, please?
I live here in Springfield.
What's your address for the record, please?
3756 Lawrenceville Drive.
Thank you so much.
I think we need to look at other communities here. I chose Miami, Florida, because they were just the easiest for me to research. They accepted Haitians with open arms, had little flag days for them, even named one of their communities Little Haiti. Miami, Florida is a much larger community than we are. Their current crime rate is 41% above the national average. And their violent crime rate is 43% above the national average. With a population, and these numbers might be a little bit old, of 435,000 people. Little Haiti houses 23,098 people. Their violent crime rate is 172% above the national average. This is 5.5% of their total population. What is this going to do to our community? This makes my blood boil that you guys are allowing this to just happen blindly. We asked you last time, who's busting them in? You gave us a lot of answers. I'm asking you again. Who's busting them in? Who's using our community as a dumping ground? I'm waiting for an answer. I'm looking at you, Mr. Rue. You've done the most research.
So like I said, I know that there is Haitian drivers going to Miami, picking up Haitians and coming back into our community.
No. Who's busting them in? We've seen the buses.
If you're going to ask me to talk, I'm going to answer your question and then you can respond, okay? But what I am saying is there is whether it's coordinated or non-coordinated, it's happening. Who's doing it specifically? I don't have that specific answer right now. I really don't. If I find out, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you from this microphone. I promise. But I'm just saying, I can't throw anybody, I don't even want to say that, but I just can't.
I'm not asking you to throw
Understand what I'm
somebody on the
saying?
bus.
I don't want to
I'm not asking
speculate.
you to just
But
come up with
I did
something
come
off the
to,
cuff.
I did tell you, yes, I have learned it is happening a lot, obviously.
But this is information that's very basic and very readily available to everybody.
Yeah.
And if this is okay at any level with you or anybody else sitting up on that, you all need to just resign.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. I can't even tell you, I live out in the county. I can't even tell you how many times I've nearly been run off the road myself. It happened on the way over here.
I don't want you to think that you share that concern alone by unsafe driving on the roads. I see it every day. I'm on the city streets every day, every day. And it does happen.
Violent crime. That's what's coming our way.
Okay.
And they've got a smaller percentage than what we already have, according to the last guy who was up here.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Diana Daniels, and I live on 40 Hedgley out in the county, and I'm not going to make any promises that I'm not going to light somebody's hair on fire, including my own. I might just reiterate that I'm not going to apologize for my behavior. I'm not going to apologize for my words, not one bit. But I will not accept being called a racist. Not here, not now, not ever. I'll take my apology from that individual tonight. And if you can't, don't say another word. And you all were painted with the same brush. So stop it. There's not one of us here. It's racist. We spoke out of anger? Yes. We were frustrated? Yes. But you're going to stop. Robbie Rue, I appreciate your efforts so far. I'm going to give you a couple pointers in terms of where you can get to the crux of the problem. I'm going to point you to a website from the Heritage Foundation. And on the Heritage Foundation, all you have to go to is the Oversight Project. The Oversight Project will give you data points, and information on who the NGOs are and how they are distributing illegals. Oh no, don't call them migrants or whatever you want to call them. As soon as you cross the border, outside of a point of entry, you're here illegally. Period. No discussion. None. Stop. When they get to Del Rio, when they get to El Paso, there are NGOs, we all know what those are, that help with the processing, pick them up, and distribute them. From the Heritage Foundation, you are going to find data points that show you exactly where they're going. This is not by accident. It's by design. Completely by design. And it started at the top on day one. You know, with the executive orders, day one, opening the border. And even before then, what did their shirts say? Thank you, Joe Biden. Thank you for letting us in. Yeah, you're not fooling nobody. Now, from the bottom up, somebody had to be here to welcome them. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. No accident. No accident that those NGOs put them right here. You'll be surprised when you go to the Heritage Foundation and find out. Now, in terms of what you want to know about senators who are voting, yes, we've had all kinds of legislation offered up to close the border, to deal with the crisis. You know what holds it up? Whatever party wants to give amnesty. And guess what? It ain't happening. No. Immediately, you get to be an American citizen. That's what's wanted. That's why the holdup is at the border. What can we do? Well, you know what? You keep standing up. You don't sit down, because this place is worth fighting for. I stayed here because I saw value in Springfield. And don't tell me that we don't have diversity. We've always had diversity. Always.
Diana, thank you so much. Thanks for your comments, Diana. I appreciate you. I could have Walt Myers and Darla Saunders. Yeah, sorry, Mark. Either Mike. Walt, Darla. First one to the mic can begin. Name and address for the record, please.
All right. Good evening, and thank you again, Mr. Roof, for all of your hard work. I hope that our mayor is participating in some of that with you. Immigration is a beautiful thing. Our concern is not legal immigration coming to Springfield. It's illegal immigration. Mr. Ryu had said last week that they're coming here for jobs, and they are coming here because we sit in the middle between Dayton and Columbus, which both are sanctuary cities, I might add. Why wouldn't they land in a sanctuary city versus a city that is not officially a sanctuary city, as Brian quoted last week? I have a few questions of one which might tell the truth on whether we are a sanctuary city. My first question is for Captain Elliott. How many illegal immigrants or asylum-seeking individuals has your department turned over to ICE? In a non-sanctuary city, any individual who commits a crime, any crime, that is not an American citizen is turned over to ICE. Being an asylum seeker does not prevent this. They have broken the law and they should be turned over to ICE for deportation. This is for any crime, not just violent crimes. Sanctuary cities only turn over violent offenders. I would like the number of illegal immigrants
Let's
turned over.
ask Brian, city manager answers for the police chief unless
Okay,
he calls
so
on the
how
police chief.
many? Thank
Matt,
you.
we will work, I don't have a number off the top
Okay.
of my head. We'll work to look at that data.
Okay, I think that would be something like right here, but okay. And then, is Springfield City, captain or Springfield City Police Department involved in any investigations looking into human trafficking, in our community related to the busing in of illegal immigrants through temp services?
Through temp services?
Are we looking at human trafficking laws that have been violated through busing people in or the temp agencies?
Any type of trafficking would be
Human
something that we would
trafficking.
investigate, yes.
That is-
There's several things that fall under human trafficking,
Yeah,
job
absolutely.
trafficking, so
You're
forth.
right,
So
you're right.
yes, we would investigate that and look into those
And
issues.
you would or you are?
We would, and we continue, as Commissioner Roos
So
stated,
you're,
we met with the employment agencies and we will continue to investigate those types of issues involving trafficking.
okay. Mr. Rue, did you have an
I
answer
just thought he was
to
going
that?
to say if there was an investigation, I doubt we would go ahead and say there's an investigation right now.
That's
You know,
fine, okay.
You've seen that,
Yeah.
you understand that.
I get that. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Walt Myers. I live at 301 North Green Mountain Avenue in Springfield. And something I didn't come down here to say, when I came in the building, somebody I didn't even know asked me if I was letting the Haitians stay on my property. The answer is absolutely not. Not because of the color of their skin, but because of their educational products of our laws. And then I made me some notes because I didn't want to have a Biden moment. America started a swift downturn when we put Barack and Mike on the White House. They promised a complete change to our way of life, and they did it. I watched this body last weekend on TV, and you said there was nothing you could do about the immigration problem. I understand. But there is something that we, as the citizens of Springfield and America, can do, is never vote for a Democrat in anything whatsoever, even though some of them would say, well, yeah, but I'm in a nonpartisan, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you hold the gun or you supply the bullet. It's destroying they are destroying our country. That had one other thing I want to say. That down on North or Columbia, you stuck the curb out in the middle of the street. We're now about 8 feet from the curb. And I see black marks all over it already and can't even get to them. It's going to bust a lot of tires.
Those are from fast,
A lot of front
unsafe
ends.
drivers.
You what?
Those are from fast, unsafe drivers.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
Those are from fast, unsafe drivers. Those black marks on that curb.
Well,
They're there to slow the traffic down.
when there's rain, you can't see it, and when the snow comes, you're gonna have any idea that the curb is sticking out in the street. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And we have Judy Paul go to one mic and Shirley Campbell go to the other mic, please. Shirley already spoke. You're good. Thank you, Shirley. Baron, Ken Seelig, if you could go to one mic, please. Judy Paul. There you go.
Hello, I'm Judy Paul, 1980 Snyderville Road, Springfield. One of my main concerns is what's your plan on controlling the crime rate I was looking up your population in Springfield, and it's around 58,000. And it says that we have, that Springfield has the second per capita highest crime rate in America. So with all these extra people coming in, that's extra crime rates that could, occur. And also, I think last time you had said there was 19 openings for police officers. So if we're lacking police officers to help protect us and keep us safe, and we're getting all these extra people in here, I mean, what are you going to do about that?
We have looked at the salary package for the safety forces, and that's increased over the last year and a half, I believe.
Yeah.
So that's one of the ways we can do that, to make sure that we have a competitive safety, a competitive package to offer police officers.
And also that age restriction is gone
Yeah,
as well,
looked at that.
so.
Yeah.
So retired military members now have an opportunity to come work for the police department, as an example.
Because I know that the crime rates are always so bad.
Yeah.
And I could just imagine what's going to keep on happening,
I wish we could come up with enough rules and ordinances and laws to stop stupid.
And by
But
the way,
it just-
2 weeks ago when we were here, the biggest thing was on their driving. We left here and immediately went right up the road, and here was a car pulled over one-way street right towards us. State Highway Patrolman had pulled them over, and it was an Haitian behind the wheel. So if they're going to be driving, I hope that you guys really push it, or we can push or do something to do something about these driving. They don't know English well enough to know what a one-way street is or a no U-turn, and maybe the basics like, red light, green light, that type of thing, but something really needs to be done about that, and you already know that, so.
No, you're right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have my own timer here, thank you.
We'll
My
keep
name
it
is Ken Seelig. I'm affectionately known as Perrin by my friends and family.
Could you share your address too for the record? Thank you.
2040 Oakdale Road. Mr. Copeland, you can call me boss.
Thank you.
You work for me. I'll start my timer. First Amendment does not have a 3-minute time limit, and by God, I'm glad for that. How about anybody in here? Everybody on the board got to speak about their opinion of last meeting that we were all here on. Not all of us, some of us were. Man, I've lived in and around Springfield most of my 60 years. 30 years ago, it was a peaceful city. You walk your dog. Fountain Avenue was a place to drive down and dream. Boy, I'd like to have a house like that. I moved back in 2006 after moving away to Houston, Texas. Big city just wasn't for me. I bought a home. Worked my butt off paying for it and improving it for 15 years now. It's now for sale as of the last meeting I attended in these chambers. The current state of affairs here is deplorable. Last council meeting, I was here to ask for help. It fell on deaf ears. The hot topic was illegals. I get it. I'm just as upset about it as everybody. Told by this panel that you were upset too. Pass the ball immediately to the state and federal level. If you don't know and can help, why do we have you in place? You are our voice. To tell someone to sit down and shut up is uncalled for. And I say, and to say I'm not running again is not an answer anyone was looking for. Quit now. Resign tonight. Let someone in the office, Mayor, who will listen to the voice of the folks you work for. I'll be back. I'm still not done here. Let me flip my page here. But we have bigger problems right now than my curbs and gutters. I'll come back to that in time. I was happy to see that it was touched on here. Utilize every dollar, even the ones for my curb and gutter that I've been after the city for 10 plus years to put in, and there's just no money in the budget. Utilize even that money to fix the problem we have with the illegals. Illegals. I didn't say
Mayor, thank you so
Haitians.
much for speaking. We truly appreciate you. Invite you to
Thank
come
you
back.
for the 3 minutes, Rob. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome. Thank you very much.
Still had 20 seconds left.
Glenda Bailey? Wow. Is Glenda Bailey? And then if Colin Barclay could go to this microphone and be prepared to speak.
So I brought my own timer, my own 3-minute timer.
We got you. We got you, don't worry.
I've timed my speech, so it's going to be just 3 minutes. St. Vincent First Diversity and Carl Ruby's Church et al. Are assisting the narco-trafficking drug cartels. They complete the human smuggling contract that Haitians paid thousands of dollars for, while leaving us taxpayers to pay the real costs of the invasion. According to the health department, 48% of TB cases in Springfield are from Haitians. I contracted TB 2 years ago when they first started coming here. None of them were checked for diseases or required to have simple vaccinations when they forced their way across the border. They took up all the housing stock in Springfield, which led to the homeless crisis. The first business opened by a Haitian in Springfield was a voodoo shop. Next, a Haitian blew up her apartment building on Home Road because she didn't know how to operate gas appliances. Haiti is being run by gangs, the same gang members that are now bringing drugs to Springfield. The majority of the Haitians here are low-skilled and they're illiterate. St. Vincent, Catholic Charities, Rocking Horse, and other non-profits pay no taxes, but they sure make money off Haitian invaders, mainly military-aged men, while us taxpayers foot the bill. A parent with one child gets $2,200 per month welfare. At the same time, the second parent and the second child filing separately get the same amount. So a family of 4 receives $4,400 per month, along with housing, food, medical, plus the cost of each child they enroll in our schools, which costs $13,000 each child per year. They cost taxpayers 100 times the amount they contribute. The I-94 they come with never expires. These Haitians are here to stay forever. And once it's known that Springfield has become another Port-au-Prince, Haiti, every property value in this city is going to drop like a rock. I called Rob Rue the day before Haitian Flag Day to warn him about the negatives of too many Haitians, and he couldn't wait to get off the phone. He didn't have the guts to confront the issue. The city commission has a fiduciary duty to the taxpayers of this city, and they have failed us miserably. They paid more than they should have for a rundown hotel that even contractors didn't want to tackle. Then they threw good money after bad for it to be demolished. Brian Heck made some very poor decisions for Springfield, and if he worked in the private sector, he would have been fired. In fact, none of you on the commission have to account to anyone for your poor performances. Brian Heck's pay and benefits should be docked in the amount Haitians cost the taxpayers of Springfield, as well as the mayor and every commissioner who wants us taxpayers to foot the bill for Haitian invaders. Plus, our police chief should be out on the streets writing tickets herself if we are that short of officers. Obama famously sneered, "Elections have consequences," and he was right. We didn't have this problem when Trump was president. Every Democrat who voted for Biden has the blood of Aiden Clark on their hands. You know who you are, and you got what you voted for.
Thank you
Democrats
so much.
created chaos and
Thanks for
bloodletting
speaking
for
your
the
mind.
American people, and it's time to own it.
Thank you. Colin, name and address for the record, please.
My name is Colin Barclay. I live on West Sparrow Road in Springfield, Ohio. First of all, I'd like to thank the council or the commissioners for their service. I'd like to thank the police and firefighters for their service to this community. I originally came up here to talk about a lot of things kind of surrounding love. And I guess I'd first like to address ma'am, I go to Carl Ruby's church, and I'd be glad to dispel some rumors for you after this meeting if you want to come up and talk to me. I don't speak for Carl Ruby, but I speak for myself and my incidences with the church. Be glad to talk to you after the meeting if you'd like to come talk to me. So my wife and I moved to Springfield in 2015. It was met when we told people that, hey, we're moving to Springfield, it was met with a lot of sneers, a lot of, oh man, why would you want to move to a community like that? To me, I saw a lot of promise in this community. I love this community. You know, you can laugh at me all you will, but at one point I went to a gym. I know I don't look like it anymore, but I have 2 kids, so you know you'll have to excuse that. But we were welcomed with open arms, welcome with love, appreciation, gratitude. My wife and I found a church that we love. We found it with grace, gratitude, and love. We were welcomed into this community, and we loved it ever since. My wife called me the day that the bus accident happened. Like many of you in this room, I have children, and I cried. I thought, man, what a terrible incident. I'm all for holding the person that caused the accident to justice, but that does not excuse us for bashing an entire community of people. I love this community, and I love these people in this room. And there are some of you in this room, whether you like it or not, I love you too. Now, it might be like a mother-in-law's love. I like you, but I don't, or love you, but I don't always like you. But Springfield, dude, I'm begging you, man. I'm begging you. Welcome these Haitians into the community like you welcomed me and my family into this community. Welcome them. They are here for the betterment of their families. Just like my wife and I moved to this community for the betterment of our family. And like many of you stay in this community for the betterment of your family. Do what I know you can do. Do what I know is right. Welcome these people in with the love and gratitude and grace that you welcome me and my wife and our family into. Thank you so much.
Thank you. If I could have President Denise Williams, if you'd like to speak at this mic, and then if we could have Bruce Kelly, if you'd like to speak at this mic.
I am so happy to, well, first, I'm President Denise Williams, NAACP, and my address is 20 South Limestone.
Thank you.
Suite 20. Okay? And I don't want to talk to you. I'm speaking. Okay? Okay, I don't need you to talk back to me.
Let's go ahead and
Stop
keep the
it.
focus. Ma'am, could you in the center?
Thank you.
Let's focus
Thank
here.
you.
Ms. Williams, if you go ahead and speak.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
So what I want to say is, this is not about race, so let's not make it about race, okay? But when you're talking about Haitians, I need everyone to stop referring to them as them, those people, and send them back. They are here, just like I'm here. So we have an issue, and we have commissioners. They will handle it. But all of this racism that's going on right now has got to stop. This is a loving community. This is a loving, thank you. I'm saying to you all to not make it about race. Okay, then we're going to refer to them as either the Haitians or by their names. Now, I commend you, Commissioner Ruth. I commend you. I commend Crystal for holding her peace. Commissioner Phillips, I don't know how you do it. I don't know how any of you guys do it. But this is a disgrace to our community. We cannot continue to be divided as we are right now. My office phones rings off the hook because of what's happening. And by the way, I did see last week, and it was disgusting, to say the least. And let me tell you, the crime didn't start because the Haitians came. We was already having crime. The lockup of the products in Walmart wasn't locked up because Haitians came here. It was locked up before then. But the fact that you guys are saying we have all this crime, we have all this theft is because of the Haitians. Stop it. Stop it. Let's deal with it while we're here. We got commissioners. But all of this backbiting and trying to lump everybody in one basket is deplorable. Now, my heart goes out to the family. I hope that the guy that killed that precious child is going to be handled by the extent of the law. There's no excuse, and I don't care what color he was. He needs to be prosecuted. I don't care how he look. He needs to be prosecuted. All of this must stop. And Mr. Heck, no, you are doing a great job.
Thank you, Ms. President
Thank you
Williams.
so much. Thank you so much.
Bruce Kelly, name and address for the record, please.
I want to thank Ms. Williams for her
Could you say your address for the record?
Bruce Kelly, live here in Springfield, Ohio. I want to thank Ms.
Your
Williams
address,
for her...
please.
I'm sorry?
Your address for the record,
Clifton
please.
Avenue.
Thank you.
I want to thank Ms. Williams for her comments. I was born and raised here in Springfield, Ohio, and the property that I'm developing is where I grew up, the neighborhood that I grew up in. And last week I had a gentleman tell me that I was not welcome in this community. And he tried to intimidate me, which is the wrong move for me. Okay? And in my profession, I go on a lot of car accidents. Almost none of them are actually Haitian. Okay? The last probably 5 or 6 car accidents I've been on, those people did not look like me. The stuff that I heard last week was actually very reprehensible, because that's not the Springfield that I know. I was born on the east side of Springfield, a very diverse neighborhood, and we all got along perfectly fine. And those friends are still my family to this day. Those white guys, black guys, Hispanics, all those that I grew up with are still family to this day. And the stuff that I heard really, I was entertained, yet upset, because I had never heard anything like that in the city of Springfield. That's not the Springfield that I know. Those people, these people, at my church, I attend 709 East Grand Avenue. We have tons of Haitians that come through there. They're actually here on work visas. That's what they're here for, is to work. They're working jobs that I wouldn't want to work. There's no way I'd work for that salary. Because of my American pride, it's beneath me, which is also wrong. That's something that I need to work on within myself. Take some time out and get to know these people. Those people, as we keep calling them. Those are racial tropes, and it's disgusting. And for people in here to try to intimidate, try to talk down people and yell at the city commission is wrong. Sanctuary city, all this kind of stuff, that's ridiculous. And if we were, we are a nation of immigrants. That's what we are. I don't care what you say. You don't scare me, so chill out, okay? I ain't going for it. You think your blood is boiling? I lost my 4-year-old daughter almost 5 years ago. I brought that up at the last meeting, and a lady standing at that podium right there poo-pooed it and talked about 2 trees that are on my property that was planted for 2 other little kids that died, but downplayed the fact that my daughter died. How do you think I feel as a parent when your daughter has a heart attack in your arms and you're doing CPR on your own daughter? Those 2 Haitian women that died over on Home Road, I was there. They didn't blow up their apartment. All this misinformation is ridiculous. Okay? Stop with the misinformation. Get your facts straight. Do we care that they died?
Yep.
Where was all the outrage when the 2 Haitian ladies
Mr.
died?
Kelly, thank you for sharing. Appreciate it. Thank you. If we could, on behalf of the mayor, if we could keep from commenting from your seat, it's just disruptive. We're just trying to flow through so everybody has a voice just like you got one, okay? That's all we're doing. Okay, Sheila Fambro?
Yes.
If you could go to one mic, please. And then I cannot read the last name, but Chris Enderkin or, okay, if you could go to the other mic, please. Ms. Sheila, if you go first, please.
Hello, my name is Sheila Fambro, 719 Reed Avenue. First of all, I want to say I thank God for Jesus because God has created all of us equally. Many want to say that this is not about racism, but when I hear racism, I know it because I live on Reed Avenue. I'm the only black family over there for almost 20 years. The rest of them are white. They don't want blacks over there. So I have been called everything from a black trash bag to our SHIT on you. I have foster children that I'm raising. They don't even want them to walk the dog in the neighborhood without causing trouble with them. I'm cussing the children out. I go out there to find out what's going on. I get cussed out. Things get through at me, and this has intensified because now there is a Haitian living next door to me, and it's only one man. It's not a bunch of the Haitians, and they have family or friends to come over. They drive well, and this racism thing, when you say them and they, and you put all of them in the same box or on the same boat, that is racism. You know, judge every man equally, not just put us in a pile and say, you know, these black people are this, the Haitians are this. But what about the Caucasians that have the racism towards us and put us through all kind of hell just because the color of our skin? And we are getting tired of it, and it's just foolishness, that's all. Because as I said, God has created all of us equally. Now do something with that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good for her.
Mr. Chris?
My name is Chris Anderkin, White Oak Drive, Springfield, Ohio.
Thank you.
I just have a couple questions, that's it. I want to know if we can see public records involving the correspondent emails and text messages between Warren Copeland and the Springfield City Police Department involving the bus accident in our community. Number one. Public records involving corresponding emails and text messages between you and the Springfield City Police Department involving the bus accident. There wasn't any? Okay. How coincidental. And do you have any information on the investigation that Brian Heck, do you have any corresponding emails or text messages involving this incident?
I was notified by Police Chief Elliott when the incident occurred and about our mutual response to that event because it actually happened outside the city limits. So she reaches out to me to make sure that we're okay to provide mutual response, which of course we did. Both police and fire provide mutual response, mutual aid to that incident, to that scene.
And do you have any information on the resources that we give you last meeting involving First Diversity Staffing Service and AMPM as far as them bringing the illegals into our city?
Again,
because sorry, Rob Rue.
We were both in the meeting, yeah.
I noticed that you mentioned that you investigated one staffing service. Was it one of the ones that we gave you?
Was 6.
So it was actually, we contacted the next day after that meeting, I contacted all 9 that are listed. If you Google staffing agencies in Springfield, Ohio, 9 come up. We reached out to all of them, invited them to a meeting. Obviously, one had reached out and met with Commissioner Rue individually, but they were also at that meeting as well.
Everybody that
responded, 6 of the 9 came to that meeting. And yes, that is part of, if I understand Commissioner Rue and his requests for me to establish the team that he spoke of earlier, that is one of the items, is to continue that investigation. Now that's going to go beyond us. That's going to involve getting the Department of Labor and others involved to understand, to audit what's happening with those agencies.
So out of the 6 of the 9, was First Diversity or AMPM one of them?
Yes, they were both present.
And do you have public records on what was the outcome of that?
No, it wasn't a public meeting. It was it was an informative meeting. I did most of the talking just to inform them, this is what we're looking at. I asked probably a handful of questions like you would have if you sat in front of a group
Absolutely.
like that. And then it was also to inform them, and the reason we're establishing this team is to ask the deeper questions and to dive in deeper. We just didn't have that much time. And I knew that I may not get the answers I'm looking for if you put a bunch of the same employers in the room. It's kind of like we're just going to basically inform them, this is what we're looking at. I had some basic general questions about who's bringing Haitians here, and are you, and busing and things like that. And
What was their answers?
I've already shared that with you, that nobody pointed the finger at a specific employment agency, but they did affirm that is happening. We got to be able to have time to ask the deeper questions. Nobody is ignoring this. I'm not trying to put you off with words. I'm not even good at it, but I am saying.
It's a second meeting.
Yeah, I know. It's been 2 weeks. We're trying. 2 weeks. A lot of meetings have happened since then.
He's right down the street.
Yeah.
But I do want to add to that it's because of you guys coming forth during our last meeting, providing us with information that we can follow up on. So again, thank you guys for that.
100%. Thank you. Last card I have before open comments is Wes Babian. Name and address to the record, please.
My name is Wes Babian, 2121 Olympic. This is the Springfield I know. And it breaks my heart.
Please speak up.
Because it takes patience to deal with changes. And I want to thank the commission, Commissioner Rue, all of you who are trying to deal with what is a very challenging, difficult reality. This city and this county have been losing population since I moved to Springfield in 1984. And now, for the first time in years, we have new people coming. I wonder how many people here are the children, the grandchildren, the great-grandchildren, the great-great-grandchildren of immigrants.
Can we please?
Let me tell you about my grandfather, excuse me,
Ma'am.
who escaped from Armenia toward the beginning of the last century, who had to figure out how to get safe. And so he came to Canada, and then he got across the border. And so my grandfather, you could say, was an illegal alien. And so were my great-great-great-great-grandparents, who came from England on the Mayflower.
Okay.
Who were not invited. And they encountered people who'd lived here for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and they figured out how to get their land. They did.
And no one interrupted you. Please leave them alone.
The rudeness in this room is just unbelievable. I wouldn't let my children behave that way. Now, I am involved with Rocking Horse, and Rocking Horse is doing its very best to address the challenges that we face. We welcome everybody. We will deal with whatever we can, and we are managing the situation. We need the support of the city. We need the support of our charitable partners. We need all kinds of support.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your comments. It's been 3 minutes.
One thing.
Then we have a Darla Bunker who I did not call, and I apologize. Thank you.
Learning to breathe free. The wretched refuge of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless, tempest tossed to me.
Hi, my name is
I
Darla
lift up my
Bunker. I live at
lamp
2507
beside the
Hilldale
golden door.
Road. First off, this isn't racist. And when you lump everybody, like you said, all the white people, you lumped us all into another racist. My problem is people driving that don't even understand English. I did call DeWine's office today. I asked him if maybe he could come down here and maybe he can clear up some information for us, because I watched the last meeting and I heard you guys say that you couldn't do this or you couldn't do that. It's at a state level, it's at a federal level. Hopefully they will get back to me. I do have a petition. I need 1,000 signatures before they can do anything with it. And I'm calling it Aiden's Law. It's a petition to change the law that all licensed drivers must speak and understand English. That is not racist. We have a problem here. It's called lawlessness. When people can go to Walmart, Kroger's, or whatever and steal things, and everybody just let them go. Back when I was a kid, if you stole, you got the police, and the police took you, and you went to court. Nowadays, bye. Nobody wants to go after them. That's the reason why everything is put up. I don't know if it's because we got extra people here, but the problem is lawlessness. And if you can't speak the language, you don't understand the language, you have no business whatsoever on our roads. I have a grandson. My daughter died, and I have full custody of him. He rides a bus to school back and forth. I do not allow him to go to the city schools or the county schools because there's too much woke. I put him in a manual.
It's too much what? I'm sorry.
Woke. You got people, different beliefs than I want my child to know.
I see.
Yes,
Thank
so I put him in a Christian school. He rides that bus, and the day that poor child got hurt, I called the school. I wanted to make sure that he was fine. My heart goes out to that family. That was a child. If we're all sitting in here calling each other racist, no, it's not racist. It's lawlessness. And if you guys can't help, then you guys need to get off the board. You guys are our voice. I know lots of you are up for re-election in December 2025. Warren Copeland, you've been here forever. I am 60 years old and I have heard of you forever. So nothing's getting done, y'all. If you can't do it, please get off.
I'm through at the end of the year.
That's good. But like the other gentleman said, if you're not going to do anything, why wait till the end of the year?
I do a lot of things.
Okay, well, here we are. Thank you. If anybody wants to sign, I'd appreciate it.
Could I have just a second? No? It's a point of clarity for Brian. I think that it would be helpful, the clearinghouse, the connection that you have for citizens to bring to your attention the concerns we have of the living conditions for our Haitians and other immigrants, because after last week's or 2 weeks ago's meeting, I had a lot of people come to me from social services and all kinds of places that don't want to tell you, that will tell me about what they see. So what I think would be helpful, if you could on the city website, be very specific in regards to creating a clearinghouse where you are the central figure, where people can bring their concerns regarding the conditions that our Haitians and our illegals are being put through. That's not humanitarian immigration. And I would like you to also make sure that anything that comes to you can be done anonymously as a clarification, because the folks that have come to me with concerns, why do men bathe at Walmart in the bathroom? Because there are a family living in each room and one bathroom, and the men go to Walmart so the women can have access to the bathroom. Hello. They don't want to tell you because they would have to reveal themselves and the agency they work for. Understood? You kind of get where I'm going. So please, if you put that out there, I think that you will start to put the pieces of the puzzle together in terms of what is happening to our Haitians that have been brought here under false pretenses in many cases and are now working in servitude. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Diane, whether it's complaint about multiple families or poor condition, if anyone wants to file a complaint, but you want to remain anonymous, you can call the city commission office, leave the information with Jill, and I will file it under my name. That way it gets filed because there has to be a name attached to the complaint.
Okay.
So if you see a violation, you can go online to our website and report it yourself. It's very easy. It's just fill out a form online and send it in, and it goes immediately to code enforcement. But if you don't want to do that and you are aware of a problem, and again, any rental unit is subject to this rental registry, and they will get in trouble for two things. One, if they're not registered, they're supposed to be, and two, if they're violating the city code, they'll get in trouble for that. So I am willing to file those complaints on behalf of anyone who wants to remain anonymous, as long as it's a legitimate complaint.
Okay, so just to be clear,
Call, you can, you can go to the city commission office and tell Jill where the address is and what the problem is.
Okay,
And I'll clarify too. So there's already on our website, there's a report a concern feature that's already under quick links on springfieldohio.gov.
Okay.
And under that report a concern, you select the code enforcement, and there's a zoning issue, zoning violation. That's what a housing issue, or there's various property maintenance code items. You're not required to put your name to that. Optional, you can leave an email address, but you don't have to. It stays anonymous, and that's already set up as a report of concern feature on our website. So that's already out there.
Okay, so on Facebook, big banner, here's what you do.
We've done that, and we'll do it again.
You need to do that again, because I've got a ton of them, so thank you, appreciate it.
And I can definitely share that out on Facebook as well. And also, please add me to Dr. E's email. If you have a concern and you want to report that anonymously, I'd be willing to submit as well.
I believe we're done.
Any other?
Okay. Anybody else want to speak?
Move to
Motion
adjourn.
To adjourn.
Second.
Clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Neill? Dr. Estrop?
Yes.
Mr. O'Neill? Ms. Phillips?
Yes.
Mr. Copeland?